Today is 23rd June 2023, and this is one of our very famous Cleaner and Healthier Nature Initiative monthly green webinar series. And we've been doing this now consistently for the past, what, 2 years? Close to 2 years now.
Yeah, almost 2 years. This is our 24th webinar.
Absolutely fantastic. And I always like to, start by encouraging people. Please, when you go out there, socialize, meet new friends, because you never know who you would meet. And that's the story of how, I and Nwaeze started with these webinars, just meeting the right people with the right kind of mind frame. It just helps things work faster and even better. So very quickly, I'll give you a brief history on how I and my team lead started. Well, he had started this organization before I joined. But then we met while we were in Unilag, and we were studying together, and we just connected on, of course, the environment. And here we are today, our 24th webinar series for the past 2 years, every single month. And I don't think that we have missed one month, which is absolutely fantastic. And I mean, we are giving ourselves these flowers. I mean, take your flowers. Take your flowers, and I'll take mine.
Yeah,
you need to pat yourself. Yeah, you need to pat yourself at the back, and sometimes it seems like nobody's seeing what you're doing, and it can be a little bit stressful. But then with the right partner, you just, as long as they understand, you both understand each other, you continue to be consistent. And we're proud of ourselves. I am proud of myself, and I'm sure Amidi is proud of himself, even though we're expecting more people to join. I know fuel is expensive, and has been affecting people in weird ways. It has affected me too. So please join. If you're here and you know anyone who would be interested in what our guest speaker has to, impact in us today, please try to just send a quick DM, WhatsApp, put it on your story, whether on your WhatsApp story or your Instagram story, put it on there with the link. You never know who would be willing to join. Please, can we all just try to do that really briefly before we start? Just invite 1 or 2 people. Because our guest speaker here today, she has a lot to teach us. We have a lot to learn from her. And it's good that people in this space know that this is happening right now. So if you have like a minute of your time, just send the link to one person and have them join us today. I'm sure that they'll be better for it. It's always a pleasure to be here. This is something that we do every month, once in a month. I think I mentioned that before. And it's always such a joy for me to it's always such a pleasure for me to see that, there are people like Joy who have joined us today who would do this, take time out of their very busy schedule to join us without being paid for attending, Joy, we're very happy to have you. We're not just happy to have you, we're pleased that you're here. And we appreciate you for joining us here today.
Thank you very much. I'm Ibu host, Miss Adejoke. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, if you have invited anyone, can you just raise your hand in the chat if you have been able to just, send an invite, send the link directly to someone, anybody, 2 people, 1 person. Great. Thank you for Lakemi. Really appreciate that. Chukudi, that's your job. Do it. Thank you. Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Chukudi. I like to teach Chukudi a lot. He's a great team member. Chukudi is a great team member. Chukudi, let's see your face. Say hello to everyone. We work together at Clean and Healthy Initiative, and he has been absolutely selfless. Chukudi, can you unmute and say hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Hello.
Hi. Chukudi, introduce yourself. Why did you join Clan? Tell us something.
Wonderful. Wonderful. My name is Chukwudi, and I was scrolling through LinkedIn one time, and I saw Clan and one of these posters about the webinars. I think I contacted someone. I don't know Ayomide. There was a lady that I contacted, and she introduced me to Ayomide. So I think I was scheduled for an interview, and I came on board. Environment has been my thing. I'm just passionate about environment and health, how our environment affects our health, and is what I love doing. You don't necessarily have to put the profit first, because if you are going by that, I don't think most of us will be here. But for the love of the environment, we are just doing it. So it's a great joy working with everyone here.
Great. Thank you, Chukudi. It's been amazing working with you, and we'll continue to work together for as long as possible, by God's grace. Thank you for all you do for Clan. I also like to thank every volunteer and member of Clan that are here today. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for inviting those people that you have. Thank you, Damilari and Kukpolu Yulashin, and for Akemi, I think I already said thank you. And Joy, thank you for joining us. So very quickly, I like to not waste so much of Joy's time. I'll invite her. First, I would like to read her bio, introduce her properly. Joy, thank you for joining us. Joy, of course, is an environmentalist and a nature conservation enthusiast. She and the corporate social responsibility expert, working with coastal communities to improve responses and build resilience to climate change issues through an intersection of business, corporate governance, technology, community development projects, and climate education. She focuses on upcycling waste, circular economy, and art skills. That's fantastic. She founded Africa Upcycle Community, which has since equipped 1,415 persons with creative waste upcycling skills, with a target of 4,000 by 2025. Amazing. through Africa Upcycle Community, where she currently serves as the founder. So Joy is the founder of Africa Upcycle Community. She has engaged at different global platforms such as UNESCO, GIZ, the German Bundestag Parliament, Dubai Expo 2020, BBC News Round, amongst others, before she proceeded to obtain a master's in International Business Management and Corporate Social Responsibility from Oxford Brookes University to further drive the ESG sustainability movement further through brand management. She's one of the 24 UNESCO Global Youth Trainers and currently plays an advisory role for the UNESCO UCAN team. Thank you so much for joining us today. Joy, the floor is yours. Very briefly, sometimes I always like that our guests get to say, introduce themselves in their own, words. So welcome, Joy.
Thank you very much, Adejoke, once again. Hi, everyone. Well, I was surprised I was asked to send in my bio because I just said I wanted founder of Outside Community, that's all. But my brother in Christ said no. So, yeah. My name is Joy, and I am a part of the team who is outgoing for UNESCO Youth Climate Action Network because we're the founding team, to formalize the network and structure it, right, for the new steering committee. It was launched in COP25, where it all started. Also, yeah, like you already read, I'm a UNESCO Youth Trainer, and I'm also working towards including greening curriculum, climate curriculum with the UNESCO. We're trying to green the curriculum to include climate learning, for children around the world. This is targeted for COP28. And also I'm representing Africa Upcycle Community. So yeah, that's me in a little grasp.
Oh, wow, fantastic. That's not little, that's a lot. You need to teach us how to get somewhere. Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. So tell us give us a brief introduction about this topic that, this theme for today's event.
Okay, so our topic today talks about sustainable approach to branding and innovation, right? So sustainable approach to branding and innovation. So basically, we're talking about how can we begin to look at branding in much more sustainable ways? How can we create sustainable businesses that will work together with us to achieve a greener economy, the circular economy we're all looking at? How can we create businesses and brands? How can we innovate with ideas that would change the status quo to make sure that all of our processes from the ideation stage up to the implementation stage, up to the end life of the product, how can we make sure that all of these processes is sustainable, right? From your production to your supply management to everything, every part of that product life cycle from the factory. Or if you are not doing products, maybe you're somebody that wants to do services or like retail or whatever you want to do, really. How can you make your idea? How can you make your brand? Do you want to start an earrings business or something, relatable to everyone here? Like, how can you make such your brand sustainable such that you are supporting the green move, you're supporting a much more circular economy to make sure that you are not contributing to the problem, releasing carbon emissions, and making sure that your business process is sustainable. So basically, that is what the topic of today is about, right? So to start with, we'll talk about sustainability, okay? Or the first part of the title, which is a sustainable approach. So basically, when you talk about sustainable or a sustainable approach, just like the word says, is the ability to sustain something, the ability for something to exist on a constant basis. So how can we, meet our needs? How can we do activities? How can we do business? How can we, do our day-to-day job? How can we start our business such that, okay, our business is running and we're thinking that our unborn generations, how can they also be able to access these resources I have accessed for my business? Okay, I don't know if that's clear. Like those resources that you have accessed today, for instance, maybe water. You use water to make, maybe somebody who makes bakes cakes, or somebody who makes donuts. You use water, you use milk, right? How can you make sure that the future generations, your unborn generations, are able to access this water you're using currently, such that it doesn't run out before they come, right? That is basically what sustainability is. That is basically what adopting a sustainable approach means. Right. So for instance, again, the key areas I like to talk about regarding this whole thing is the food. First of all, you can see around the world, I'll give examples. You can see like droughts happening. There's like a food famine. We can see that in northern Nigeria, for instance, we're experiencing desertification, and we know that over 400,000 hectares of land is being, lost every single year in northern Nigeria. Some of us here might be surprised about this, but yes, it is as bad as this, and in terms of water, look at NASA has released a report recently. They said 3.5% of all water on Earth is fresh, only 3.5%. So that means the water you're able to drink today is only 3.5% of all the waters of Earth. Some of them are caught in glaciers, some of them are in the seas, and most of them are waters that we cannot drink. So how can this water get to future generations on unborn? You can see already, for instance, we have the Lake Chad in Nigeria. You can see that there's been a fluctuation, right? In 1973, the Lake Chad, we had 250,000 kilometers square of land space of the Lake Chad and the water level. In 2003, that same Lake Chad had 7,000 kilometers square. And in 2013, the same Lake Chad sat at 14,000 kilometers square. So you can see that there's a serious issue in terms of, how the climate has been changing and how it has been affecting water production and, of course, our natural resources. Also, like energy, very important. There are renewable and non-renewable sources. Either way, it's a rigorous process to produce energy. So how do you manage energy such that you're not contributing to the problem of global warming? Global warming is not something, global warming, when I say, is the warming of the atmosphere, the warming of the whole world. We know that today, the kind of heat waves we feel is not what we've been feeling from years away. Right? So how can you manage energy such that, of course, we already know that energy produces heat, right? If we're following, let me have a thumbs up there. I don't want to feel alone here. Okay, thank you. So we know that energy produces heat, right? So how can we make sure that this energy, is such that, it doesn't worsen the problem we're trying to fix here? So you see, that is basically what sustainability is about, in a nutshell. Considering generations unborn, how can something exist on a constant basis? How can we always have water? How can we always have food? How can we always have gold? How can we always have diamond? How can we always have things to produce our brands? How can we always have lithium, for our phones, for our technology? How can we always have these things? How? That is what sustainability means. And this is why this concept is a really key one, that today we need to discuss. Thank you. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did answer my question. And I'm glad that you broke it down, because I was just about to ask you that, can you just briefly tell us about sustainability? Because people hear the word, but sometimes people cannot come to terms with what it means exactly. And you've done a great job in explaining that seamlessly. And, even for some people that have heard it before, or they know what it means before, I'm sure that with the way that you've explained it, they'll be reminded, about what the word truly means. So some people hear about sustainability and they think big brands. No, I think it also applies to small businesses, and just you and I, even the things that you do in the house. I think that as a family, you have to do it sustainably, so that their values that you want to pass on to the next generation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you would agree with me. So my next question will be, why is this transition important?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. So transitioning into much more sustainable models for your business, for your brand, even for your daily living. But today we're focusing on brands and innovation, right? Including ideas you're thinking of to start a business, right? Or ideas, whatever ideas you're thinking of, to start a brand, start a business, and whatever you want to do. Why this is really key is because there's currently a global emergency, and it's called climate change. So basically, global warming is I know most of us have heard about global warming. If there's anybody here that has not heard about global warming, can you let me know so that we don't talk about it over, if you like a little explanation on global warming.
Please, I would appreciate a little explanation on that.
Yeah, okay, all right. So basically it is, I would say, just like you hear the word, it is the warming of the atmosphere. How is, you have noticed that, okay, 50 years ago, okay, yeah, most of us here were not born 50 years ago, but yeah, when we were much more younger, you know that the heat waves today is not the same as when we were much more younger, and this is as a result of the heating of the Earth's atmosphere. So it's referred to as the climate change, the change in the weather patterns over a period of time, over couple of years, how has the weather changed? How has the atmosphere changed? It has been more of, much more heated atmosphere. And this is caused by something called the greenhouse gases. So basically we have 4 primary greenhouse gases. There's the one that's methane, there's the one that's carbon dioxide, there is water vapor, and I've forgotten the 4th one, I think nitrous oxide. Yeah. So these 4 greenhouse gases are gases that are released into the atmosphere, as a result of our activities, and that right now, the gases are so much in our atmosphere, it is trapped, and that is why you can feel that, it's like the atmosphere is burning, like the sun is getting hotter. It's not getting hotter because the sun has been the way it has always been. The sun has been the same way it has always been. What has changed is the warming, that's the multiplication of these gases. I'm trying to use not too much technical terms. So how these gases has become so much. So because these gases are so much, that is the reason why the whole Earth is getting hotter. So there's something called the ozone layer. So the ozone layer is like an umbrella that covers us from the sun, right? It's like a shield from the direct sunlight, right? So this is the sun up, this is the ozone layer down. And this ozone layer over the years, right, has been depleting. When I say depleting, it has been reducing in terms of how much is able to shield us. You know how an umbrella is. So when an umbrella is losing its ability to cover us from the sun, that's exactly what is happening. So it's not like the sun is shining hotter. It's not like the sun is getting hotter. It is as a result of the ozone layer depleting. It's getting lighter and lighter. And why is this happening? The gases in our atmosphere is getting too much. And what is causing these gases are activity, oil burning, wood burning, waste burning, coal, everything leaving lights on, energy misusage, all of these things, they accumulate and they cause what is called the global warming, right? And then this is what is affecting us. A lot of people have been complaining lately, oh, they cannot, have a good time anymore, outside, oh my God, Lagos is becoming like Dubai, so hot. Why is this happening? It's basically the change in the climate. Now, something happened in 2018, right? It is called, there's a body called the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So they published a report and they agreed, over 195 countries around the world agreed in 2018 that they would keep this global warming, this increase in the weather, like in the weather patterns over time. They will make sure that it doesn't exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius. So that we don't go into a climate catastrophe, because if this is not watched, it will get to a stage where the sun will begin to burn our skins. It will begin to, eat human beings' flesh. That is how harsh the sun can be. That's just to talk of one of the numerous impacts of what climate change can do. So the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, they brought countries together. They agreed that, okay, what can we do as governments, to reduce this impact? This is a serious global issue and it's an emergency. So they said, okay, fine. They would make sure that this doesn't exceed 1.5 degrees. But as we speak right now, why this transition is so important and why we're talking about this topic today is that as we speak right now, scientists have started warning us that we might exceed that 1.5 degrees Celsius, right? From now till the next 7 years. Why is this? Not much has changed really in terms of usage, in terms of like how the atmosphere is heating up even more, in terms of like how businesses are switching, in terms of, a lot of businesses are, to be fair, a lot of businesses are beginning to consider the green aspect, because again, in areas of funding, in terms of investment, you see a lot of funders want to see green initiatives, support the green projects, brands, ideas, businesses. They don't want something that's unsustainable now, because everybody's coming to the line. Even even customers as well. I don't know if we know about the brand called Patagonia. So like it's a totally green brand, and they donate all of their earnings to support the earth. It's quite, I'll call it a luxury brand. That's one interesting one. Another the reason why this transition is important is that you see this earth we're living, everyone. We don't have two of it. It's just one. It is mine. It is the lady from Asia's own. It is the lady from South Africa's own. It is the lady from America's own. It is the lady from Portugal's own. It's the men from these places own, and all the continents and all the countries on earth, from Uganda, from Nigeria. It is our earth. We are the owners of this earth. There's no another earth. If this earth destroys, there's no second earth. So this is really why it is so key that we discuss this. Also, resources. So we don't have unlimited resources. Our resources are getting exhausted. So it is important that we think about the future when we act. So this is why this transition is important. Adejoke, I don't know if I answered the question correctly, or you want me to shed more light?
No, yes, you no need to shed more light. You have answered the question very correctly. You've even gone overboard. Not overboard, but you've gone deeper to explain global warming to us, something that, the reason why I asked for that is because, sometimes we need to be reminded, once we hear these things, we go about our daily lives, we tend to forget, what we're actually facing. And we need to hear it over and over again, which is why we have meetings like this, where we can reiterate the importance of, a lifestyle change, a behavioral change. And yeah, thank you very much. So I'll just head straight to the third question, which is says that there are lots of ideations in terms of branding and innovation at the MVP level around the world. How can they inculcate a sustainable approach at this stage? Now, that's a very important question for me, and I'd like to hear like a proper breakdown, because there's so many brands out there that have existed without the knowledge of how their practices affect, the global world, and they've put in, their systems are put in a place in a way that hasn't considered, that hasn't foreseen that these things would happen or these changes will be needed in the future. And they've, invested billions of dollars or what have you, a lot of money into putting their systems without considering the impact on the environment at large. So yeah, so I'd like to hear what you think.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. So basically, when it comes to branding and innovation, right, and a business which is at maybe the minimum viable product level around the world, the advice I have on how they can inculcate a sustainable approach at this stage is, number one, they need to research the industry to understand the customer concerns. So, okay, let's look for an example. Okay, for instance, let's say a carbon fiber bike industry, so bicycle industry, and this particular person, maybe let's give example of you, Adejoke. You want to start a business, right? And that business is a carbon fiber bike business. So you want to be producing carbon fiber bikes. Let's give you that personality now. So basically, the first advice would be to research the industry to understand the customer concerns. So when I say this, I'm talking about in terms of green needs, in terms of the green space. So what are your customers really concerned about over the past 20 years, over the past 20 years up till the next 10 years? What is the forecast like? So you can use in interesting tools. You have them such as like Statista, you have tools such as Mintel reports, you have tools such as the market line, and so on. Some of them are paid, some of them are free. So you can research your industry with these tools to find out, okay, what are my customers, my potential carbon fiber bikes customers? What are they saying? Do they want to maybe go green? Are they purchasing carbon fiber bikes that have a bit of sustainability elements in them? So if not, if yes, what is the way I can innovate better such that they would patronize me? What other aspects of sustainability? What other aspects? How can I make it showcase my bike in such a way that it look much more green and attractive to these my prospective customers? So that's the first step. The second step would be to engage the right talent to support this transition. So basically what we mean by that is that customers, you have right now, you have consultants, you have people who are skillful in these aspects. We call them environmental consultants or sustainability consultants for brands around the world. So you can engage them, they can help you even better in terms of like how you can even go green. But for businesses that do not have the funding to do this, because again, if you have a business idea and probably you don't have any form of funding or any form of angel investment or anything like that, and you probably just want to start with your own money, in this case, for the step number 2, that might be a bit difficult. But what they can do in this aspect is do a lot more research. So how can I consolidate all this information I've gotten from the industry to better align my brand? Okay, so I'll give an example. So for your carbon fiber bikes, what our customers say, let's say for the most of the industry, customers are saying, oh, okay, we want this kind of bikes, but we want bikes, a kind of bike company that recycles the chemical they use to produce these things. Or we want a bike company that accepts my old bikes and then are happy to collect it for an upgrade of my bike, something like that. Because if you notice, this could even be a business idea I'm about to say. If you notice, many times when children buy bicycles, right? Or when parents buy bicycles for their children, maybe you buy a bicycle for a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old. When that child becomes 10-year-old, that bicycle becomes irrelevant to that child. So many times they have to give it away, or they have to sell it off, or they have to just gift it to someone. So it is maybe, for instance, in that instance, maybe customers are saying, okay, we have been wasting too much money on our bikes purchase, so we want a bike that recycles old bikes, a bike company, right? So Adejoke, from her research, who is a carbon fiber bike enthusiast industry, can now say, from this research I have done, I understand that it's a lot of research to do, to be fair, but she can now say, I understand that from this research I have done, this is what my customers want. So how can I begin to recycle these bikes from customers, right? To build my business model such that it accepts the recycling of bikes. So now you must have had your business model even before thinking about this in a deeper way, but that's what we're having this session today, thinking about this today. How can I begin to think, okay, I already have my business model, but how can I refine this business model to include the recycling of these bikes? Is it going to be a short-term goal? Is it going to be a middle-term goal? Or is it going to be a long-term goal? So all of these things are what are very key in implementing. That is number two. That's the second option if you're not able to hire a talent that does this. And then this is the second option for people who do not have the funding to be able to engage such talent. So number three would be you need to invest in these aspects. Of course, business has to do with money. You need to invest in this aspect, in research and development of your product. And of course, you also attract investment because, like I said earlier in the last response, investors are really, really keen on being attracted to businesses that are in the green areas, that supports the green growth, that supports a circular economy, is an economy that takes from the youth, is circular. The resources come out and goes back in. For instance, this cup, I produce it, right? And then I use it, right? And then I'm not so let me talk about it as the producer. So I produce this cup, it goes to the market, people buy it, right? And then it gets to their house, they use it, right? And then when they use it, maybe they're tired of the cup, right? How can we make sure that this cup is now renewed into the society, that this cup doesn't go to the dustbin, the landfills? How can we make sure that when people are tired of this cup, they bring it back to my company and say, how can we recycle this, right? So basically, that's what I mean by circular economy for those of us that are not familiar with these terms. Yeah, that's my response. So let me just do a little recap. So for businesses that are, in the ideation stage, so you need to research. That's number one. With your business model, I know you already have your business model. So number one, you need to research what do my customers want, or when you find out what your customers want in terms of the green aspects, or if you don't have a response to it in totality, how can you, position yourself as a brand to think about ways to, inculcate the green initiatives? So how can you recycle using your products or whatever? So that's for product businesses. So for services, businesses that offer services, for instance, I would say maybe a call center agent business. They don't do any products, they just do only businesses. So a way they can adopt a sustainable approach would be, number one, their day-to-day activities. So for businesses at the ideation stage, sorry, I'm talking about now established businesses. For businesses at the ideation stage, a way they can inculcate sustainability would be in the planning stage, right? Okay, how can we ensure that our day-to-day activities, when we eventually launch this whole business, is sustainable? How can we use less paper? How can we use less water at the office? How can we, make sure that we are having some sort of renewable energy source? How can we make sure that we're switching from the whole traditional model of the office to a much more digitalized model to make sure that we are in our own little way contributing to a much more greener economy. So less, just less of everything in terms of the resources they use as a business. So this is exactly how businesses can begin to transition from just a business into thinking about what ways can I inculcate the green aspect in my business. I don't know if we answered your question.
Yes. So now you have covered, I think you have covered two questions now that I think businesses at the ideation stage and also already existing businesses, right? I think that's what
I could talk about the already existing businesses.
Okay. But before
Would you
you
like
do
it?
that,
Okay.
I want to ask a question. Is there a difference between, or what do you think is the difference between an economic approach to, sustainability, or sustainable practices in a workspace, for instance, or in an organization compared to an environmental approach?
So if I got your question correctly, so what is the difference between an economic approach, right?
Yes.
To
an sustainable practices.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference between economic approach and environmental approach? Because why I'm asking that is that in some ways, when people hear sustainability, they might think it just has to do with the environment, right? But some organizations don't adopt it that way. They also adopt it in a way that, okay, how can we pass this business on to the next generation? It's not like absolutely about the environment, so to speak. Do you get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would you say that, the difference between the two? Does it vary industry to industry?
Well, okay, let me try to answer your question. All right, so an economic approach. So basically, first of all, we have to talk about what the term economy means, right? It basically refers to, like, maybe an area, maybe something that has to do with distribution, trade, consumption of goods, services, basically, right? Consumption of goods and services. Now, an economic approach, we can say, is I can refer to as a linear one, because then it is something that does not think about, it does not inculcate, I would say, it does not inculcate the aspects of, reuse, reduce, and recycle of resources. It's just basically about producing items, distributing items, trading, from one business to another business, from one customer to another customer. So it really doesn't inculcate sustainability key issues. But a sustainable approach would be not just producing, distributing and trading of resources, of businesses, of products. It will all consuming. It would also inculcate the future. That is the difference. So the future of the business, the future of, these resources that are being harnessed, the future of this service, the future of these goods, the future of these products that are being, produced by the company, that are being used by the company, that are being transported by the company, thinking about the future of this business, of the product, of this finished goods that the company is able to make. So that is the major difference between an economic approach, right? Another thing would be, another point would be an economic approach can also, of course, take into terms deflation, inflation, and all of the, economics of scale, in terms of your production to make sure that you're making much more profits, in your business. But as much as these concepts are really key to a business generally, what stands out, a sustainable approach would be inculcating all of the economic approaches and inculcating, like a joint one, the green aspect, right? So this is really the difference. The inculcating the reuse, inculcating the reducing of waste and resources, inculcating recycling in your business. Is it recycling of water, recycling of what? Of your finished goods? Is it recycling of the items you use in the line of production? Maybe there's excess, for instance, maybe a cloth manufacturing company, for instance, all of when they're cutting the fabrics, all of those little waste that comes out of it, so a business all of those, the business that adopts a sustainable approach would have already sat down and drawn out a plan to, collect all of these resources that are going and picking all of the extra waste and turning them into a new product. So this is what stands you out as a business that has a sustainable approach. I don't know if that answers your question in terms of the distinction. Okay, thank you. So just to touch a bit on the established businesses. So if you're here, you're probably in a business and the business is already running, or maybe you're a staff of Coca-Cola, because we have a word for Coca-Cola. Or if you're a staff of Nestle, or all of the giants businesses, because this is not just particular to maybe small and medium scaled enterprises, or maybe just a new startup. Not just you. Our message is directed to businesses around the world. Number one, carbon offset project. You can begin to think about, how can I begin to do projects that will offset the carbon in production, not just in my business, for instance, for other initiatives, making sure that how can I think about projects I can do to offset carbon from the whole world, right? That's basically what it is. So when you say carbon offset projects, okay, I'll give an example. I am the managing director of Coca-Cola, right? And to do a carbon offset project, I can decide to work with an NGO to say, okay, Coca-Cola would like to plant 50 million trees in Africa. How is it a carbon offset project? Carbon is something that is, when you say carbon is talking about emissions like carbon dioxide, right? In terms of like gases. You remember I referred to the greenhouse gases earlier in the conversation, the gases trapped in our atmosphere. So like when you talk about carbon, it's one of those gases. So when you say Coca-Cola wants to plant 50 million trees in Africa, that is telling you that. So so before I talk about that, trees, they do take in our carbon dioxide, one of these gases, and give us oxygen, right? Give us cleaner air, they stop erosion, they do a lot of things in terms of trying to, that's why you hear a lot of NGOs say they want to plant trees, trees, because it's really key to, absorbing those gases from our atmosphere. So, right. So that initiative alone is something that can transform the whole, what's it called? It can transform the whole picture, that is a carbon offset project. That's an example. Another thing they can do is resource management and recycling. I talked about that before. Maybe in terms of like the chain of operations, or adopting a lean management approach. Lean management is a framework, a theory that they can use. The theory is also practice. Most of our Chinese brothers, around the world, they're really good in terms of operations management, and fortunately I have a Chinese as my lecturer educating us on these, so, in terms of lean management processes, they are, the top, I would say. Most of us here can confirm to this, they're really skilled at that. So yeah, adopting a lean management.
Lean management.
Sorry?
Lean management.
So lean management is basically, cutting out all of the waste, in all of your processes in terms of your operations, right? So lean management is in my production, for instance, my production facility, what's it called? The company where I operate, right? For instance, we're a company that produces, I would say nappies, right? How can we make sure that we're not using too much time to waste money on burning fuel for generators? How can we make sure that from the shedding of the wool to the packing of the nappy, how can we make sure that the time frame is shrink so much? So it's something that you really need to read about if you really want to know much about it. But yeah, it's basically like making the processes much more concise and reducing all of the waste that comes out from production processes in a company. So that is lean management approach. So just to come back to like what we're saying, so like these resources, like you have to manage your resources rightly, and make sure that you're not wasted. We are not wasting as a company and already established business. So to do this again, you can hire a professional as an already established business. Also, recycling, really important. Waste management, water management, and all of this processes. Now, another thing again is for the airline industry. I'll give an example. Or the fast-moving consumer goods industry. I'll first of all talk about the airline industry. There's something called the sustainable aviation fuel. So the sustainable aviation fuel is different from the current traditional fuel that airlines currently use, right? Sustainable aviation fuel reduces carbon emissions up to 80% of what planes release by just one trip, right? So, but the problem with this sustainable aviation fuels is that it's 3 times more expensive than normal traditional fuels. So this is why, again, incentives are needed, to be fair, because again, these are businesses also thriving on their own space and trying to make profits. They're not thinking just about the environment, they also want to make profit. So
exactly.
So
I guess that's one of the reasons for the hesitations, with these messages, like you said. I said that's one of that's the major reason for hesitations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, with these big organizations, FMCGs, and the ones that you.
Yeah.
So we have to move along to the last question because of time. We don't want to waste any more of your time, or not waste, but use up too much of your time. And also because we started a bit late with my chit chats. Please, the last question, and I also would like us to take questions from our participants today. Can we do you have like examples of businesses that are currently practicing sustainable approaches?
Oh yes, I mean there are a ton of them, businesses
Because sometimes we hear of greenwashing. Some of them they say they do that, and they're not really practicing these things we hear, but the ones that you're sure of,
Absolutely. I do have a couple, and thankfully before now I put together just one slide because I'm not a slide person. I put together one slide to just show us here just about 3 to 4. I think it's here. Yeah. Let me share my screen. How do I move this thing? Okay. Right. Is my screen visible now?
Yes.
Okay. Share. No. Okay, no, there's this one, present. Sorry, I'm not the best in terms of, but yeah. Okay, so if you can look at this, there's this one here, just on the type. Can you see this? There's this highlighter. Is it?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Thank you for confirming. So this is ERI. So what ERI does is it was an initiative by young people. What they basically do is it purifies the air, right? Of course, we know about air pollution and the problem, in terms of, how it reduces the life expectancy for people around the world. So it's very important that we breathe in, clean air. This ERI company, they produce this air purifier, and it is 100% biodegradable. 100%. 100% biodegradable, even onto the outer look that looks like a plastic. Yeah, it's not a plastic. It's 100%. So it's amazing. Look at this other one. It's called BioBeam. So BioBeam, they do amazing stuff. What they do is they use coffee grounds, waste for, of course, in Europe, those of us that have traveled to Europe, that Europeans love coffee. They love it so much. So you can know how much waste you can imagine, how much waste they make from coffee grounds. And, when they grind this coffee, they use all of the grounds to make biofuel. They upcycle them into pellets, into logs. So instead of burning charcoal, firewood, they have logs now for heavy carbon fuels. Then the third one here is air carbon. So this is a negative carbon material. It's absolutely green, 100%. This third one here, which is looking blue to you here in color blue, it's plastic made from carbon. So this is not plastic made from plastic. No, it's made from carbon itself. Look at this material here. Would you believe it if we told you this was from carbon? Carbon that we all complaining of, this was from carbon. So this one here that we see is Grass's water box, this one down here. And it's an amazing initiative because it has made planting in the desert possible. So these young people came together and they said, okay, how can we make planting possible, and it uses 90% less water than normal plants would use in, normal soil conditions. And also it is made from recycled paper as well. Oh, sorry, that was a mistake. Okay, also you can see the last one here. It's called Bakey. Bakey as a brand, they use they make cutlery. So this cutlery, you can actually eat it. It's edible cutlery they make, and it's automatically biodegrades if you don't eat it. So either ways, it is extremely sustainable. So like these are some of the initiatives that are amazing as well. Also, I would like to share something as well, which is not on the screen. It is the Floating University in Berlin. I visited there in Berlin, Germany. I visited there last year, and I can tell you that it's amazing. They use rainwater to do their processes in that university. They also try to plant trees. They adopted an eco approach for everything, you know. They have like eco designed classrooms, you know, kitchens, models and systems. And it's in Berlin. Anybody that goes to Berlin anytime soon, you could check out the Floating University. It's amazing sustainability. And again, they are open to visitors anytime. So yeah, it's an amazing. And of course, another sustainability initiative is Clan. You Clan that invited us. Yeah, you guys are doing amazing
work. Thank you so much.
And we at Africa Upcycle Community as well. So I'll just
Thank you so much. Please, can you just share maybe your Instagram handle, your LinkedIn for people that might want to, you know, follow you or connect with you? And thank you very much for answering the questions that we've had for you today. Thank you for enlightening us. It's been an amazing time. Thank you for honoring our invitation.
Thank you so much.
We're absolutely grateful. So let's just take questions very quickly. Is there anyone that has any question for Joy? Please put your question. You can unmute and ask. You can first of all signify and then unmute and ask. Or you can put your question in the chat box.
Hello. Hello, Ade. Hi, my name is Annalisa. Joy invited me to this amazing hi. I just want to say thank you so much for the invite. It's been so insightful and impactful. I can't believe you guys are doing such an amazing initiative, and I'll have a chat with Joy later, see how I can join the clan, because I'm originally from Ghana, and every time I step in Ghana, I am so aggravated and angry at all the things that we're doing wrong in terms of things that are contributing to climate change, and from littering, from plastic waste, from a whole bunch. It overwhelms me, and I just kind of want to give up. But the fact that you guys are taking one step at a time and just unraveling each piece of the jigsaw puzzle, I think is so amazing. So kudos to you guys. I just wanted to ask you, Joy, like how, because for me, when I think about this climate change, it's such an overwhelming thought. And I just think, how can one person, I know it's not one person, it's a team of you collaborating and sharing ideas. How do you keep going? How do you keep, okay, my first question is, what really stemmed this interest of global change? Because I've never seen an African team so interested in climate change, considering where we're coming from. So what stemmed this interest, and how do you keep like being encouraged to keep going, considering that it's such a task, it's such a huge job, honestly, so that I can get some motivation. And I will definitely get ideas from you, Joy, see how I can apply it in my own small world. But yeah, thank you so much. I've been really, really inspired. Over to you.
Wow. I probably thank you, Adejoke. Thank you, Annalisa. I probably dragged Annalisa out of her shell today. Yeah, thank you so much for that. So well, for me, I would say that what really sparked the passion in me, just like you talked about what's happening in Ghana, and how unconcerned and unbothered people are. It's not different from what I can tell you for a fact. It's not different from what I saw that really sparks my passion about this whole green initiatives and, you know, making sure the world is a better place in terms of, you know, managing our resources, in terms of, you know, going much more sustainable and helping the environment as the environment helps us as well. So I started by volunteering in Nigeria with youth-led initiative as well. So they're called Reese Africa. Yeah, Reese Africa. So I started volunteering with them. And I started volunteering with them not because I just jumped on them, but because I was thinking, how can I really make change? It was really offensive to see that every time it rains, the floods will come like, you know, a mighty war and take people away. You know, it was really offensive to see that people will eat and throw things on the floor. And somehow it really irks me when, is it irks or irks? I don't know, sorry. When that happens. And it really is really offensive to see people pack their waste. I'm telling you what I saw with my eyes and pour them in the gutter, you know, just because they want to avoid the bills. It's really, really offensive. I found these things as really, really offensive. Also, I found out as well about climate change and how much of an emergency it was. You know, it really troubled me so much that because I started doing my own study, that I had to go and volunteer with this initiative and say, okay, how can I contribute to my own quota? Yes, I don't have the money, I don't have the infrastructure, you know, I don't have all of the things that can do a sudden change in like the whole Nigeria, but I have my voice, I have the network, I have access to join these networks that are actually doing this change. So what can I do? So I started volunteering with them. We'll do advocacy, we'll do speaking engagements, we'll explain to people what climate change was and how important it was, how it was hampering our lives and our future and our younger generations, how it concerned them, because a lot of people, I mean, most of our advocacy we've done, you'll hear people say, if climate change is happening, let it happen now. Let all of us, let it, sun burn all of us, let all of us fry in the sun. Yes, let this whole world scatter. We hear talks like that, but all of those, they don't understand really, you know, they don't understand really, because probably they're just talking from the frustration of maybe their situation or the economy or something, or from the inflation, but they're talking about the long term, talking about a global, just like I explained that, oh, this person in Nigeria is facing the same problem. Although the sad thing about this thing, you know, my husband and I were having this conversation about airlines. We're particular about airlines because hopefully by God's grace we'll own an airline one day. So there's this particular, we're talking about airlines and, you know, how the disparity in terms of how much they fly in Europe compared to how much they fly in Africa and, you know, Nigeria. So we did a case study, you know, it was just a house conversation while we're still doing this thing very practically. So we said, okay, let's examine one airport in the UK. At the time I was in the UK as well. So let's examine one airport in the UK and one airport in Nigeria, right? And see the disparity. I can tell you that a year in Nigeria, that airport flies 8,000 people, or about 8,000. That's like the major airport in Lagos, right? Murtala Mohammed. And then as at the year we did that, and then compared to the UK, they fly about it's 8,000 or was it? It's 8,000. I was checking on that airport, it was like millions. I'm like, wow, look at the disparity. Wow, just wow. So, you know, when we talk about these things, you know, it's really sad because Africa is a hot continent. It's predominantly warm. So we're more at the receiving ends of these problems. If you check the current weather forecast, you see how much people are suffering in terms of the heat wave in Africa as I'm speaking right now. Like when I say Africa, I mean Africa as a whole. So like, it's really sad because we're not doing most of the activities that are causing these problems, yet we're the ones more. What?
I agree.
Yeah, we're more on the receiving end. Yes, there's things that we can do to change these problems, but it's really, really sad. And, this is why I thought that, okay, how can I start, to do my one little bit to, change people. In the UNESCO Youth Climate Action Network, which I represent, the motto is changing minds, not the climate. So how can we begin to change people's minds on this aspect? So I don't know if I've answered your question, ma'am.
Yes, you have. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you
for coming as well.
Thank you for coming, and thank you, Joy, for inviting her. It's good to, this is why conversations like this are important, because you don't know whose mind you'll be changing or touching, as the case may be. And like you said, unfortunately, there are no demarcations in the atmosphere. So whatever is done any other place in the world might even affect the people that aren't contributing as much to, the problems that we're having, or the causative agents, and it's just sad, but it is what it is. And, we have to continue to, it can be overwhelming, like Annalisa said. I think we'll have another question. Someone has their hands raised. Please, you can unmute and ask your question, Uluwaseun.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Joy. This was an insightful section. So I have a question concerning beauty product packaging and the plastics, the packaging of beauty product brands. So my question is, we talk about collecting plastics, especially they've been doing well in Nigeria under the PET bottles, like the soft drinks and the water plastic bottles. But when it comes to beauty packagings, as in the plastics, the containers, the cream, shampoos and all, what can you advise that we do? Because if you say we want to collect them in Nigeria, these companies, most of these products are not produced in Nigeria, apart from the locally produced skincare range and all. They're not produced in Nigeria. So if we collect, for example, if you collect maybe Tresemme shampoo, or you collect maybe Eco Styler container, you don't have representative in Nigeria. So how do we try to curb that? Like, you are trying to solve the problem of plastic pollution, but we can't just keep them somewhere. So what would you advise us do? And what would you advise us do in instances like that, instances like this? Because looking at the beauty brands, it's also growing and increasing every day. And people are not really talking about the its own packaging side effect, not talking about even the products itself, the using of the plastic for the micro, the scrubs, and also, but my question is, what do we do?
I would like to say something about that, just to contribute. Okay. I ran to pick up some things, and I completely agree with Oluwaseun. I've been thinking of writing. I don't know if you can see this, but because
we can.
I'm thinking of writing to, these are like just one of the things that I use for my face. And this is just maybe some like product that I've used for maybe two months. So imagine what I use like in a year. So I've been thinking, like, do I write to these people to send it back to them? Because I would do that, And this is because I've not trashed these ones, and I've been thinking of what to do with them. So that's a very valid question. I don't feel like the beauty industry, so to speak, get as much backlash as the FMCGs. They should, because this is a lot. I can't even bring everything else. This is empty.
I absolutely agree with you. And Adejoke, thank you so much for no, it wasn't Adejoke. Give me 1 second.
Oluwaseun asked the question, but I just
Oluwaseun,
point.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought it was Adejoke. Oh, you're connected twice.
I am. Because my laptop might go off soon. So
okay, no worries. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Oluwaseun, for that question. That's really key. So I just have one, just before I answer your question, can I ask if this is in terms of a user's perspective or in terms of a producer's perspective? So let me just to have much more clarity on my response, or do you want me to speak on the both?
Okay,
Speak on both.
I think we should speak on the both from a user's perspective, like numerous containers are in our houses, but also from the manufacturer's perspective. Even in Nigeria, you see them import in plastics for local brands producers, and they buy every day. So from both perspectives, we need to know what to do.
Okay. So as a user, Adejoke and Oluwaseun, me, I don't use beauty face product. I don't know where. Maybe I'm not among those.
But do you use cream? Do you use cream? It doesn't have to be face. Like she mentioned Tresemme, which is a type of
shampoos, conditioners.
I use those ones.
Anything that we use that would give this in our house or house. So, and we don't know what to do with them over time. You get what I mean?
Yeah. So the thing is, this is why we've been involving more of government agencies and multilateral organizations and funders in these conversations, because the truth is we are more of advocates because we don't have the funding. Yes. Because if we had the funding, we would fix these problems, and the technical know-how in terms of the resources, the the networks, to make this change happen, just like you said that, they bring these things in bulk, and they buy them, these plastics from these sellers. So as a user, this is what I can advice. Number one, keep being sustainable, right? Keep being sustainable. So how can you do this? So I understand that you're collecting the plastics already. Don't give up on that. If you have space, I will encourage you to keep doing that. And number two, what you can do is look out for recyclers around you that are collecting these plastics to recycle. Sad part is many recyclers in Nigeria at the moment, they do not give you incentives for recycling. Sometimes they just collect and say, oh yeah, you are doing something for the environment, but yeah, we know of some. Even my brother here, Ayo, my namesake, Ayomide, there's a time he was doing a recycling. I mean, the founder of Clan. There was a time he was doing recycling in Nigeria, and he was giving people incentives for recycling. I remember, bless you, honey. I remember that some time ago. So like he was giving incentives to say, okay, this is rice, this is that. Thank you for recycling. Yeah, I think he did that in Ibadan or something. So
yeah, we've done more.
Oh, amazing. So you see, all of these incentives are what encourages people to recycle. We understand that the logistics is a challenge because in Nigeria, we don't really have much support systems. I'm saying Nigeria because I understand the nitty-gritties of what happens in terms of recycling in the country. But in terms of like Ghana or like other neighboring countries, I really do not know the nitty-gritties because I've not really played in the recycling space there. So like, so what you can do is you can keep collecting these plastics and look around you. I know some people, because I was a part of the Lagos Business School sustainable waste management program, right? So I can tell you for a fact that if a couple of people recycle those kind of plastics, I think that's polypropylene, right? Polypropylene, right? That's the PP plastics. So if you can just check the you see the this thing on it, you see it on the plastic where it's written PE or PP. Let me know what's there. So find out. There are lots of recyclers in Lagos. I don't know where you located, Oluwaseun.
I'm located in Lagos.
Lagos. Perfect. Looks like I was just telling you your story. Okay, so please find out. I know there's Green Hill Recycling. I know there is what's this guy's name? What's this guy's name in Adejoke? Do you know these recyclers? Oh my God, I've forgotten their name. Oh, there are a number of them. they're really big in Lagos. They're run Mundo, exactly. There's Mundo as well. Thank you, Ms. Folakemi. There's this other guys, I've forgotten their name. They're really big. They're run like by expatriates.
Yes.
Yeah, they're really big. Ayomide, are you there?
No, he had to leave because he has a class.
Oh, okay. Okay, please check out Recyclers. See, if you check the chat as well, you see some. But I'm trying to remember these guys because they're really, really big and they convert plastics into cotton as well in their industry. Hold on, let me check. Yeah, they're in Lagos. They're really big that they convert plastics in their factory there into cotton. Let me just check.
A Lebanese company.
I don't know this thing, but let me just give me a few seconds. Let me check my laptop, like if I can see their name. I used to know. Give me 1 second. Sorry. So the thing is, if I find it, I would let you know the name.
Yeah,
but
Joy, no problem. Just send it to us when you find it because we have to.
Yeah, if I find it, I'll let, because these guys are really big, and I think this is the kind of companies. But you can check out Recycler, check out Mundo, check out Green Hill Recycling, and then the fourth one, the really big ones. They should be recycling PE plastics. This one's in beauty products plastics. So all you have to do, take it to them, or there's a way they work. Motainai as well. I think Motainai, I used to work with Motainai, so they also recycle. So the only thing is, when you call them to collect these plastics from you, they might come and pick up. They might ask you to come and bring it. So that's why you need to reach out to a couple of them. To be fair, right? You have to reach out to a couple of them. So you see the one that's happy to come and pick up from you, because again, you're contributing your own quota to make sure that you're living a sustainable lifestyle in terms of your beauty and products that you use. So that's one like a user perspective, because again, there's supposed to be a sustainable product line system up to the consumer level, which is the products you have in your hand, Adejoke and Oluwaseun. Like this product, there's supposed to be a way to collect these plastics by the product or the producers, exactly. And that's why we're having these conversations. But since there's not, we have to do what we can. So from the manufacturer's perspective, really, basically
the thing is that that these products travel. They travel, and for some manufacturers might be out of their reach to do something about it. I mean, they can do something about it in their immediate environment, maybe where these products are produced. But I feel like it rests with these kind of products. It rests more on the shoulders. It might rest on as well. I mean, I won't say more, but it might rest as well on the shoulders of the consumer to do the proper thing with it, which is why we need to educate one another about, you just don't toss, these things out there. And like you said, you've even, someone has shared the organizations that you spoke about, the recycling companies that you spoke about, someone shared it in the chat box. Because even in Nigeria today, we find that some of the plastic and the waste that they see in our waterways, some of them travel from as far as China all the way.
Wow.
Yeah, they're not products. I went for a Loma event and they're not Nigerian products. So who do you hold accountable? So like you said, it's a global problem. So everybody needs to be involved. Consumers, manufacturers, So Joy, thank you so much for coming. You can just, wrap this up, give us, a little, goodbye address and a closing address, and we'll call this meeting a day.
Wow. I can't thank enough like the the organizers of this whole initiative and this whole webinar session. And I can't thank you enough, every single person. In fact, let me call you all by names. Everybody that's joined today. I feel like calling everybody's names. I hope I'm allowed.
No, we have to go. I mean, it's been interesting. It's been very interesting. Spend this small time. I'm
Okay,
talking
so
usually people would have zoned out at this point in time, but I love that, we're interacting.
yeah, they're really interested. And that's why I really want to appreciate everybody. Like, I'm sorry I can't call you all by names, but thank you so, so much. Thank you from the depth of my heart, like, for joining. And thank you for also thinking about, sustainable ways to, fight this climate change. Because if we don't fight it, it's going to, it's already fighting us. But, thinking about ways with us, because it's a global emergency, and just don't forget, every single person here, that change begins with you and me. So to wrap up, I'll just talk about the story, something I did one day. So one day I woke up and I was in Lagos, Nigeria at the time, and I was like, okay, my NGO that I'm volunteering with, they are not organizing project today, okay? But I want to do something for the environment. And then I just went outside and I saw my outside gutters were bad. Like, nobody sent me message. I took my I went to go pick broom in my house, converted to outside broom, picked packer, picked everything, and I cleaned the whole gutter. Like, it was so bad, but I cleaned it up by myself. I tell you this story because I was proud of myself. So, like, this is what you can do, and even more for the environment. So change begins with you. Think about ways you can, solve this problems. Think about ways you can go sustainable. Think about ways you can contribute to this, making sure that the world is a better place. And yeah, I'm very happy to be engaged. That's my social media. That's my Twitter. I've also dropped my LinkedIn up. Please feel free to follow me as well. Yeah, I'm very happy to answer your questions if you have any for me. And yes, let's work together. Please, let's work together. And yeah, together we will win this. We'll fight this problem. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Joy. So we've come to the end of our webinar today. Thank you so much to everyone. Please follow Joy on her LinkedIn and on her Twitter. And you can also follow us as Clan Initiative on Instagram, all across all social medias is Clan Initiative, Clan for short. And thank you everyone for joining us today. We thank you for your time. Joy, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here with us. So with that, I will have to call this meeting to a close. Thank you, everyone. Have an amazing weekend ahead.